Keder rail strip is awesome. You can take this awning track and sew it onto your canvas project. Before Keder awning strip, all awning track had to be screwed to a hard surface. Not now. We're taking the rubber base acrylic seam stick here and basting it on this umbrella panel. We're going to use this to create a ½ inch or 3/4 inch hem. If your project already has a hem, you don't need to worry about this, but this is a new sample project that we're doing just for you. We'll put that rubber base acrylic basting tape right on top of this rail strip, and we'll peel off the back paper, and that reveals the glue. Then we'll take that hemmed panel and lay it with the underside down and baste it right on top of that Keder rail strip. You can see here we've laid it right along that bead on the Keder rail strip. That's where it should go. We'll now take this over to the sewing machine and we'll prepare to sew in that soft flange. You can sew with either a straight stitch, maybe 2 rows of straight stitches, or a zigzag. This is the LSZ Ultra Feed sewing machine, and we're going to use a zigzag just to sew 1 row down that soft flange. You'll also notice that we bar tacked at the beginning, and we'll bar tack also at the end to lock that stitch in place. And here's your finished result. On the bottom side, looks good. Again, if you don't have a zigzag machine, you can just use 2 rows of straight stitches. And here's the top side, looks good as well. That's all there is to installing the Keder rail strip. Let's now take that second panel and we're going to install the Keder awning rope. You can also install the Dacron awning rope or the vinyl awning rope here to this panel. So we're just going to put a ½ inch or 3/4 inch hem in this panel as well, and we use the rubber acrylic basting tape. We're going to use that basting tape also on top of this awning rope tape, and that makes sure that nothing moves while we're sewing, and peel off the paper just as we've done earlier, and then apply that to the hemmed edge of the umbrella fabric. Obviously the hem would be facing down towards the flange on this awning rope. And we'll put that hem right along that rope edge. There it is. Now we've already sewn it. We're not going to show that procedure. So here we have the awning rope sewn to a hemmed edge of fabric, and we have the Keder rail strip sewn to the end of a hemmed piece of fabric. And there's the bottom side, looks good, and the top side. Now, if you want to protect this or cover it with a flap, that's pretty easily done. We're going to do that with a 2-inch facing that Sailrite sells in particular colors. You'll see that one edge of this facing is actually hemmed longer than the other edge. We're going to use the longer edge to install the snaps, and the shorter hemmed edge, which is about a ½ inch, we'll apply the double-sided tape and we'll sew along that ½ inch hemmed edge. We're going to sew, it doesn't really matter in the situation whether you sew into your Keder rail strip or you sew into the awning rope over here. You can do either or. We're going to choose to sew into the Keder rail strip instead of the awning rope. You also can do this entire assembly all at once. You can pre-baste it in place instead of sewing the Keder rail strip in place and then sewing the flap on. You can actually baste it all in place and sew it all together. Remember as well, you don't have to sew this flap on at all if you choose to do it that way. We're going to take that 2-inch facing over the sewing machine and we're going to sew a straight stitch all the way down the length of that ½ inch hem. And that creates a flap over the exposed part of the assembly, and this is only if you'd like it. You don't need it. Now we won't do any sewing to the other side, but instead we'll take some snaps and install them right along that flap edge. And what you've got is a pretty neat smooth transition between panel to panel. Make sure that you install those snaps evenly, and you need to make sure that you mark it very accurately, because any kind of discrepancies between snaps can cause excess fabric or not enough fabric. So make sure you mark it well, and then just install the snaps. Now we're using the press and snap tool to install these snaps. That is by far the best tool to install snaps. In lieu of snaps, you could use Velcro, you could use twist lock fasteners, you can use lift the dot fasteners. Here we're just using snaps. Again, this is only one example of what you can do to cover that assembly. It's not necessary, but you can choose to do it if you like. Keder awning rope and Keder rail strip does fairly well in the sun. But if you'd like it to be concealed, you need to put some sort of flap system over it, and you can create your own or use the 2-inch facing that Sailrite sells. Now we have those snaps installed with that press and snap tool, and here's what that little sample looks like when it's done. That's the top side, and this is the bottom side. And that's one of the, I'm sure, many examples of what you can do with the Keder rail strip and the Keder awning rope. You can also use the awning rope in the Dacron or the vinyl version as well. I'm Eric Grant, and for all of us here at Sailrite, thanks for watching.